All right, what's up, everyone? I'm Rossie McCree. I'm the host of Rossie's Clubhouse. Welcome this evening. As you guys can see, we are going to be discussing Richard Pryor's legacy in comedy. I have with me today Brandon Holloway, who's a Sacramento stand-up comic. I have Mark Snipes. He's also a comic here in Sacramento, and I'm going to let them talk about some of the extra things that they do. They each Mark has an awesome channel, and I want to talk about Real Ninja News with Mark and catch up with that. Um, and then I have my good friend Frank Humekin. We work together. He's great. So and Frank and I both came up with the idea of this show because love some Richard Pryor. So with that, guys, meet everyone here. You guys say hi to the audience.
What's happening?
To
What's
those
up, everybody?
listening.
Welcome to the clubhouse. Welcome back.
Shout out to all listening,
Thank you.
man.
Thank you. Thank you. And you guys, I just want to mention today is Rossie's Clubhouse 40th episode.
Oh,
Woo!
what? Go ahead.
Yes, 40th. We made it. We made it, y'all. We made it.
Whoa.
So, and you also, guys, just to let you guys know, Movie Lovers Unite is another podcast that I'm on. We just hit a million views. So, John, that was here. Congratulations to John. Thank you guys for enjoying Movie Lovers Unite as well. So, thank you so much. Anyway, so we're going to discuss Richard Pryor. Richard Pryor died, gosh, guys, it was like 2005. He died December 10th, 2005. It was a huge loss. Richard Pryor was born in 1940 in Peoria, Illinois. And just it's amazing life, you guys. We know about the way he grew up. There was some abuse there for him as a very young child. And I think he grew up with his. Didn't he grow up with his grandma? He lived in was it a whorehouse?
A whorehouse, yeah.
A brothel.
Brothel, yep.
So you
Yeah,
can imagine a lot of the stories that he tells, he mentions that, it was from those early days of, the people that he came in contact with as a young child growing up in a situation like that. His nicknames, Richie, Dickie, Dick, Rich, just to let you guys know. And I'm going to read just a little bit about him. So he was a highly influential and always controversial African-American actor / comedian who was equally well known for his colorful language during his live comedy shows. As for his fast-paced life, multiple marriages, and battles with drug addiction, which was really big, and a lot of jokes came out from an incident while he was doing drugs. And so, a lot of us know. If you don't know, we'll discuss that. Anyways, yeah, absolutely brutal. He was acknowledged by many modern comics artists as a key influence on their careers, and Pryor's observational humor on African American life in the USA during the 1970s with razor sharp brilliance. So, Frank, being a special guest, what was the first Richard Pryor film that you saw that you was like or not even a movie, just your first contact with Richard Pryor?
Well, my first contact, just being, a little bit of biography for me though is, growing up with an Asian mom and a white father who was very racist. And I know I've told you this, Rossi, in our conversations, and so my dad was just complete racist, and I knew every racial slur by the time I was 8 years old, but my mom would always say, "But you married a Japanese woman," and he'd say, "Well, you're different," and so I grew up with just that kind of in my life, and then so it was just weird for me as I grew older. I just, for some reason, I don't know if it was a rebellious thing, but I went towards just everything ethnic. I loved, all my friends were Mexican and black, and I listened to to rhythm and R&B and all those type of things. I mean, the first 45 I bought was Fire from Ohio Players, like 1973, and so I love Richard Pryor, and so I just went right to him. And Red Fox was still going on back then with Sanford and Son and all that kind of stuff. So I listened to the albums, even though with my friends, and I knew I wasn't supposed to, but I did. And he just kind of, I don't know, he just was my favorite right from the get-go, just how the way he spoke and how he was just funny and everything. And it definitely was a highlight of my teenage years. Those were when I was like 15 and 16. And so I mean, my favorite album of his is the one that's called I think it's called I Hope I'm Funny, and it's like the cover of the album is a scene like in a cave, and he's like in monk uniform, and it's the one where he introduces Mudbone. I'm not sure if you gentlemen know the character that he introduced called Mudbone, and so that was that was the introduction to that, and all this, all the things they talked about, and they just all reached me, and I just, I love that, and I pretty much memorized that album, and so it helped me get through. It helped me get through high school. It helped me get through junior high. It kind of, helped me get, into everybody thought that I was, funny, and because I
Right.
knew all that stuff, and
Right.
so I could do my preaching Richard Pryor lines, and it got me, through the schools without getting beaten up, and so that was, as a small Asian kid, I was, happy to do that. So yeah, he was influential for me for sure, and
Nice. Nice.
and it was fun. Yeah, but as far as
Brandon, what about
movies,
you?
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Brandon.
Brandon?
I wasn't born in the era of Pryor, so I got introduced to him by my father. And
Right.
I don't, we're kind of putting my age here, but back then you only had like 5 or 6 channels. So I'd watch like Channel 31 as a kid, and I would see. But my first introduction to Pryor was "See No Evil, Hear No Evil," and I was like, "Who is this guy? What is this? Is kind of weird." He was funny, but still endearing and still kind of like emphatic. Like I felt for him when I watched it, and then I realized like he was a comedian. My dad was like, "Oh, you don't know who that is? That's Richard Pryor." I'm like, "Yeah, let me show you." So, and then he would go down the list of stuff, and I got exposed to like Sunset on the Strip,
Sunset Strip, yeah.
Which I probably shouldn't have been watching. I was probably like 8, 9 when I saw it. But, we just kind of had that kind of house where it was just kind of there because he wanted us to know who Richard Pryor was and what it was about. And he said that this guy was the man from the 60s, 70s, pretty much the 80s. He's the one that influenced Eddie Murphy. So, we really delved into it because we were big Eddie Murphy. We would watch like Delirious and Raw and stuff and kind of sneak in.
Right.
I imagine that he was basically how we felt when Chappelle had dropped. How everybody was kind of just
yes,
with probably the same fever that we have. But so many people have given props to him, like in Living Color, Ken Ivory Wayans, was definitely giving him his flowers. Chappelle always, without him, we wouldn't have Paul Mooney, we wouldn't have anybody without his influence.
Right.
So, and his records still hold up today. The hard ERs is kind of jarring when you look at him. He's got like 3 albums. Like, that is crazy, and it's like, wow. And I know it's on YouTube, but I'm like, wow, okay. But those are the times, and we're definitely his like grandsons or grandkids. He was the first one, and we're all kind of chasing that, kind of going down that road. But lived a really wild life.
Oh yes. Mark, your introduction to Richard Pryor.
I think my first introduction like ever was the Tupac song called "Hearts of Men."
Yes. Right.
And there's a skit on there, and I forgot how the skit went, but I play the song all the time, so I always hear the skit. So he never can fight, but he always gets his ass whipped.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't know that was Richard Pryor for a long time when I listened to that song.
It took me It took me a good minute. I'm like, oh, I put the dots, connected the dots or whatever.
Right.
So that was kind of when I first like heard of him, heard his voice. My family was like, my dad was like, he was big into Eddie Murphy or whatever. So Richard's like the one before that. But when I started getting into more comedy and stuff like that, I think the first time I seen him was live at the Sunset Strip, and I started noticing like this, because some old stand-ups you watch, even from the 80s, like the comedy sometimes don't age as good. You know what I mean? It'll be they talking about certain stuff that happened then, or it don't hit the same. And I'm watching Richard, I'm like, this stuff still hits the exact same today. And then even just the contrast of him and Eddie Murphy, because you can see the influence of Eddie, where sometimes even the voice that Eddie does, like in Raw, where he does like the y'all talking about, that voice he does.
Yeah.
I see Richard doing. I'm like, damn, they get everything from Richard. So it's like he really like set the tone for. I don't think comedy would even be where it's at if it wasn't for Richard Pryor pushing the boundaries and stuff. And I started I read about his life and how he grew up. I started kind of digging into his life and like watching documentaries and stuff, and just how he started out. He was kind of like kind of mimicking Bill Cosby, and then eventually took his life and said, you know what, I got a lot of fucked up shit. Can I cuss?
Yes, yes, you know.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool. I know.
Just
I got
Yeah.
English, all right?
I got right. We cover it, right? Uh,
We're going there.
I got a lot of fucked up shit in my life, and instead of hiding, I'm gonna put it out on Front Street. Like he put
Yeah.
like everything on Front Street.
Yeah.
Talking about sucking all types of shit. I'm like,
Yeah. Yeah.
who was brave enough to do that, and I
Yeah.
think a lot of comics take that same approach today, not necessarily sucking sucking dick,
Right.
but
Right. Right.
but taking their pain and their trauma and they put it into they stand up, they art or whatever. So he
Right.
really set the tone. It takes a really really brave man to do that, to flip that around. But I will
Right.
say he lived a really really troubled life. Like
Yeah.
Yeah. That. Remember. Go ahead, Mark. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
oh, you good, go ahead.
Okay. I was want to talk about. Remember the movie JoJo Dancer, Your Life is Calling?
Hmm.
Wasn't
Yes.
that? Have you guys seen that?
I did
Frank,
see
you've
that.
seen
Yeah,
that, right?
that was
Back
kind of
then.
his life story.
Yeah, that was his. And I remember seeing that as a kid, like on HBO or something. I wasn't supposed to watch it, but I was so fascinated by that. It was such a good movie, and I didn't know at first it was about. I thought he made it up because I didn't know anything about him. So I thought, wow,
Oh,
what a great
crazy.
movie! He's making it up. And then my mom's like, no, that's he's talking about his real life. That's how he grew up. So that was really good. And some other movies that he appeared in. It was Lady Sings the Blues. If you guys seen that, remember he was the Mr. Piano Man. She called him Mr. Piano Man. He was really funny and good in Lady Sings the Blues, starring Dinah Ross. The Mac back in 1973, Uptown Saturday Night, which is really funny. I think that was the one with wasn't that the one with Bill Cosby?
Bill
They
Cosby
were
and Sidney Poitier.
there you go. Yeah, that
Yeah.
one was. I remember seeing that like in eighth grade. That was so funny. You guys can watch it on YouTube right now. It's hilarious. Silver Streak back in 1976. Car Wash, which was so famous, and that was just that character was just the best on Car Wash. Just
Daddy
love
Rich.
that.
Daddy Rich. Daddy Rich was
Let's
the
see the
man.
bingo. Then this was the bingo long traveling all stars and motor kings. Seeing that where they played the black baseball players, that was really good. Which Way Is Up has to be my favorite movie. Um, love Which Way Is Up. I don't know if you guys have seen that, but that was like you have Eddie Murphy that did the Crumps, or when he did the Nutty
Played a bunch
Professor,
of
and he had all
characters.
the people. Well, back in that day, back in 1977, Richard Pryor played all the other characters in Which Way Is Up, and it is absolutely funny. Frank, we talked about Which Way Is Up. I
Oh, I've
think that
seen
was
it.
one
Yeah.
that we bonded over.
Have you
Was
fellas had a chance to see that?
Have you guys seen that yet?
I don't think I've
I've
seen
seen
that
that
one.
before. I've seen it a long
You
time ago.
That's a classic. Yeah.
It's absolutely Mark. You would love Which Way Is
Yeah.
Up.
I
He's the
hear about
first
it all
one
the
that
time.
plays all the different characters, and everyone is freaking funny. And the story, along with the preacher with that got everyone in the church pregnant, and
Oh yeah.
he was Leroy. He was Leroy.
Yeah. Of course
And
he
he
was.
was
Yeah, right.
moving up in the company, and the nemesis in the movie was called the Man. The white man was the man, and that's how they refer to him. But the house with his family, when his girlfriend found out he was doing something and tried to kill him with the knife, that scene was one of the funniest scenes I've ever watched on TV before. And he also had his sketch comedy show that he did, which Frank, you said it only lasted not even maybe a year.
It barely made the season. Yeah, it was. Well, you're talking about early '70s. I mean, I was like 11 when that show was on, or 11 or 12, and I mean, I didn't remember. I remember watching it later in life, not like when I was an older teenager. But yeah, it didn't last very long at all. But he was, I mean, he came right out there, and he played a black president in one of the kind of like Chappelle. Like, you remember when Chappelle did that? We got to get that on. He was. It was crazy back then when he did that. For sure. That was so early. I mean, that was a long time ago.
When Tim Reed on that too. Tim Reed.
What's that?
Tim Reed and Paul Mooney's on the sketch show. Am I tripping?
Yes, because Paul Mooney. I think Paul Mooney also wrote.
Yeah, he was right. Yeah,
that stuff that he did. Yeah,
which hence Dave Chappelle brought him on to write for him. Paul Mooney, who is also a legend, and seeing his stand up, you can. I mean, who influenced too though, because he wrote for Richard. You know what I mean? So to me, they were so funny, you know. Paul Mooney was hilarious.
Yeah, he was. He was.
Well, you know, they were great because, in my opinion, and just from a raw standpoint, they were angry black men that were funny, and they were
Yes.
getting their word out, and they were
Paul was
doing it.
angry.
And
Paul
you
was
know what I
Oh,
angry
mean?
as a
Paul Mooney was
motherfucker. Paul was angry as hell.
What's that?
Paul
Angry as
was
hell.
angry as
Oh,
a
I know.
motherfucker. I'm like, shit.
Paul
I was like, I
talking
know
about
half these ain't even jokes, Paul.
I know.
yeah, Paul.
Rat.
I mean,
Yeah.
yeah,
Paul be
I
it's just
watched
angry.
him. He
one of
was
his
talking. It was just another day. He just asked Paul.
He'd be up
just
there
sit
sick.
there and just complain.
Yeah, it should be crazy.
But it was
Yeah.
funny. It was
Oh, he
absolutely
was
funny.
so funny.
Also, George Carlin, you know, that was another one that
Oh
was back
yeah,
around
yeah.
that kind of, you know, he was, you know, of course, Red Fox, you know, Red Fox, we all know Red Fox, Paul Mooney, Bill Cosby. Lenny Bruce also was a controversial comedian back in the day, and I watched some of his stuff as well. Dick
Yeah.
Gregory, of course, you know, legendary.
Wasn't
Yeah,
Lenny
yeah,
Bruce
Um,
yeah.
the first guy to cuss? Wasn't he the one that kind of opened up the floodgates, if you will,
yeah,
for allowing
who
people to do what he did?
Dick Gregory
Or Lenny
or
Bruce?
Lenny Bruce?
Was Lenny Bruce the guy?
Lenny, oh yeah, Lenny Bruce was the one that, yeah,
He was
He was
I
doing
the
watched
his
some
judge,
of
stuff in
right?
the
his
late
stuff.
50s.
It's
His stuff was in the late 50s. And
yes,
Pryor and all these guys were 60s and on, and Red Fox
yeah,
and those guys. And for Lenny Bruce to do what he did was not normal. You know what I mean? Guy talking like that. Yeah. You
right,
guys should
yeah,
look at some.
absolutely.
You should look at some Lenny Bruce stand up.
I watched some Lenny Bruce stand up, and
Yeah.
it's for that time, the things that he was saying, I was just like, wow, you know, wow, he was a problem. Jonathan Winters, Mom's Mabley, who was also
Oh yeah.
another one that
Mhm.
had a great stick that she used to do. Jack Benny, just all of those older ones. But for today's world, though, like we talked about, Dave Chappelle's and Eddie Murphy's and Bill Burr. I think even Bill Burr had some of that. You know, if you see some of his early shows, would you agree with me on that, Brandon? Like, who doesn't?
I mean, yeah, because definitely Bill Burr he definitely didn't shy away from the African American influence in his comedy. Uh,
Right.
Bill Burr kind of reminds me, like, he puts Carlin up there. They're like
Yeah,
older
yeah,
Carlin, because
yeah.
older Carlin was just
Older,
mad
yes.
and everything cynical and scary. So yeah, he didn't care how he felt about it. But
Right,
Pryor he was very enduring. I never felt rage from Pryor in his stand up. I
right,
always felt sort of it was always a hope in it. It was always like it was funny, and it made you think, but it wasn't kind
right,
of like it was a commentary on everything, but it was a decent. It wasn't like as in your face as like Pryor or somebody is.
right. I was watching one of his stand-ups, and it was
The
a
freeze.
famous where he
Okay, yeah.
had decided. Oh, go ahead, Brandon. I'm sorry. Okay, he had given a
Oh no,
speech,
I
like
got you
Brandon
froze
saying,
on you guys. I'm sorry.
oh no, it's fine. He was giving a speech. It's going back to what you're saying, Brandon, about him being inspiring and hope. Remember, he was talking about when he decided not to use the N word anymore, and he was telling the story about being in a room full of cowboys, and he was on stage performing, and he's using the N word, and then he had to stop and say to himself, like, you know, wow, I was wrong. Like this doesn't sound right anymore, you
Mm-hmm.
know? And so he decided from that point on, and this was probably one of his comedy shows in the 80s. And he had mentioned that he didn't want to use the word anymore because of that. So it was kind of like that, what you're saying about this, his outlook on things socially, you know. So when you go to his show, you can laugh, but there's something else that's coming across from his comedy that you can get from that. And so I wanted to bring that up because that goes to your point. Also, though, the movies that he did, the early movies with Gene Wilder, the Stir Crazies, and what was the other
Stir
ones,
Crazy
Frank?
was my favorite for sure.
Stir Crazy was,
Yeah.
I remember sneaking. Have you guys seen this Stir Crazy? With he and Gene Wilder did. Probably he'll jump back up. He and Gene Wilder did, maybe, was it 3 films together?
I think they did Silver Streak, yeah, the Sino, Neville, and Stir Crazy. I think they did 3,
Right,
yeah.
right. Which were funny at the time because I remember I seen Gene Wilder as the Chocolate Factory, you know,
Oh,
and
Gene
then
Wilder, they play off
yeah,
each other so well. I don't know if you know this, but you know the movie, you know Blazing Saddles, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
You know the history of that, right? So Blazing Saddles, originally Richard Pryor was supposed to play the role of that Cleavon Little ended up getting.
Okay.
But they didn't feel like it would be the best role. And so Richard Pryor was a major writer of that movie, but he didn't play that role. But he was originally supposed to be with Gene Wilder in that movie, on Blazing
Oh wow,
Saddles.
that's crazy.
Yeah, I know. You think about that because you look at
He would've
Cleavon
been
Little
funny.
and you know, if you've seen that movie, and I'm assuming you have.
Oh yeah. Oh
As
yeah.
a teenager, I saw it like 500 times. But
Right.
but the you know, yeah, Cleavon Little, I can't imagine him not being that person, not him the one
Right.
that says there in front of everybody, "Let me whip this out," you know, and
Mhm.
stuff like that
Yeah.
that are just iconic fucking lines. I mean, are you kidding me? Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I could see Richard Pryor in that movie,
I
Blazing
could see
Saddles,
him
and I've
doing
seen
it.
that
Yeah, yeah.
so many times, and I thought Cleveland did a great job. But yeah, knowing that Richard Pryor was up for that, oh yeah, but it was still a funny movie. I want to talk about the fact that I don't think people understand how many awards this man has gotten over his lifetime, Richard Pryor. And before we get into that, Harlem Nights, the great cast that was put together for Harlem Nights, all the legends at that time, Red Fox, Richard Pryor, Eddie Murphy. I remember hearing that that movie was coming out and the all-star cast that was going to be in that movie. Couldn't wait to see it. Did everyone see Harlem Nights? And
Yes.
what was your thoughts on, you know, I think maybe getting close to Richard Pryor's like last really good
Yeah,
film.
that was his last hurrah, I think.
That
Yeah.
was pretty much. Yeah, I
Mhm.
agree.
MS took over.
Yeah.
Right.
What was your opinion on Harlem Nights? So when you heard about that, Richard Pryor, Red Fox, were you as excited as I was?
I love
Well,
Harlem Nights.
Right?
yeah, I thought that was great. Yeah, it was great to see him and Eddie Murphy together.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
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 Right.
And Red
Right.
Fox, because
Oh,
that
yeah,
was
that's
his
right. Red
last.
Fox was in it too. Well, you know, the scenes with Della Reese just beating
Oh
the
my.
shit out of
Oh
Eddie
man,
Murphy.
yeah.
That shit was
That was
crazy.
big. Yeah,
That looked like that was real. Like, I wouldn't fuck with Della Reese even now, and she's dead. Yeah, yeah.
I love the scene with the stuttering boxer and
Yeah.
Richard Pryor's in the scene with them, and the guy's trying to talk to him. Richard Pryor's face is like he's rooting for him to get that word out. And I every time I see that, that's one of the funniest scenes to me is that that interaction with Richard Pryor, and you die every time because you know I knew someone that stuttered, and it's kind of like that. You kind of
yeah,
no,
Just
like
trying to help him
seriously,
get it
because
out.
you're
yeah.
like, you know, you can,
Come
you
on,
can,
yeah,
you can get that out. So
like,
I'm just,
yeah,
I know what you're trying to say, but I'm just going to help you though.
yeah, you know, you kind of want to complete this sentence for him,
I
but
know you want to do it.
that was really funny. I absolutely loved Harlem Nights. Eddie Murphy did a great job. But in 1996, he won like a Lifetime Achievement Award. That was a year that no, that was 2005. 96, a Lifetime Achievement Award. He won another. He was outstanding supporting actor in a drama series. He was in Chicago Hope, guys, in 1996. Yeah,
Was he
did not
really?
know that.
yeah.
I didn't either.
Yeah, 1996, outstanding supporting actor in drama series Chicago Hope. 1981, best performance by an actor in a motion picture, Bustin' Loose. Of course,
Yeah.
that was Bustin' Loose, absolutely. Classic today, still today. Let's see, I wrote a bunch of them. He had so many. 1975, best screenplay, Blazing Saddles. He won the BAFTA award for that.
Yes, he
Let's
should.
see, yeah. Let's see, 1994 winner, entertainment, cultural documentary, informational special, Mo Funny, Black Comedy in America. Did you guys ever see that in '94?
It sounds
I never
familiar,
did.
but I don't think I
Oh, you
seen it.
guys
It
gotta
sounds
watch
familiar
it.
though.
It was really good, really good. And 1985 though, he won a daytime Emmy for outstanding performance in a children's program, Pryor's Place.
Oh wow.
You know, in a what?
In a children's program. It was called Pryor's Place
Oh,
in
how that happened?
1985. Yeah,
How that happened?
it was a day.
I was right. I was like,
I didn't even know
that.
that.
I
I
want
did
to see how
not
that.
know that. For kids,
That's one I want
guys.
to. That's one I
For
want to see.
kids.
Was
Yeah,
Pryor Place
right.
a kid's show? Was it a kid's?
It was called Pryor's Place.
Everybody's shocked. Like,
Wow.
is he allowed
Yeah,
around children?
Yeah,
1985.
but right.
The Emmy Award. I didn't know he did that, and that was in 1985. Like he was raw in 1985. You know, so I was when I was
Awful.
looking at these, I was 1982. He won Best Comedy Recording for the album Reverend Do Right.
I remember that.
Yeah,
I
that
don't
was
remember that.
1982. Let's see, 81. He won Best Comedy Recording for the album Holy Smoke, and then in 83 he won for Live on the Sunset Strip, which is the most famous,
Yeah,
the one that I saw not too
Oh, that's
long
absolutely.
the
ago.
classic with the red suit and
The
Yeah.
red suit, the black, yeah,
yeah.
our thumbnail that we have, which was really funny. So I have so these I didn't really want to read these guys. I think I will though. Okay, this is some of this stuff he said, all right?
Mm.
So he said that you can have a film and have 200 white people working on it and nobody finds anything wrong with it. But if you insist on having a black crew, all of a sudden there's something wrong with it.
Is it about Harlem Nights?
This is just random quotes that he made on
Oh,
his
okay.
IMDb. Just quotes.
Okay.
Let's see. Let's see. I always have to fight with the guys who look like they. Oh, he said on this job as a boxing gym sparring partner, I always had to fight the guys who look like they just killed their parents. So these are just random shit that he would say.
Well, you guys
Let's
know that
see.
he used to be a boxer. He boxed when he was young.
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah, he did.
I
He
read that
like
documentary.
in the
Yeah.
golden, like kind of junior Golden Glove level. Yeah.
Really?
Uh-huh.
Okay, so okay, so Frank, thank you.
Yep.
Let's see. He said I had some he said I had some great things and I had some bad things. The best and worst, in other words, I had a life, which is good. So the bad things, of course, when he caught on fire, was anyone? Do you guys remember that when he was on the
I
news and
remember
he
that
was?
clearly. Yeah, that was back in the early '80s,
Yeah.
and I can attest to that because I was in my 20s in the '80s, so cocaine was huge, and I was right in line, and so freebase is what happened to Richard Pryor. So
Okay.
prior to crack, there was freebase, and that's where you put this ether and all this liquid on your cocaine, and it took out the impurities, and then it left this dry, smokable product, right?
Okay.
And so for me, my experience, one-time experience with it was I was hanging out with these guys. I got like a half gram of cocaine, which in that time would last me the weekend because I wouldn't share. And
Okay.
so the guy goes, "Hey man, let me cook up your stuff, dude." He goes, I can make it good. It'll be really good, and you can smoke it. And I went, okay. So I give it to him. So you find out how stepped on your drugs are when he cleans it, and there's less than half of what you started with. And so he gives it to me. He goes, "Yeah, just put this in the pipe and smoke it." Okay. So I do that. Yeah, great high. All my coke's gone in 15 minutes. And I said,
Wow.
so I'm done. You know what I mean? So I got nothing. And it's Friday. I was waiting. This was going to end on
Dang.
Sunday. I got no more cocaine. And
Damn.
so that, right, exactly. But that's what he was doing. And of course, he had more money to buy
Money.
as much as he wanted.
Right.
And it was very, like the stuff that you used to process that was very flammable. And that's what happened to him.
There's an interview. I don't know if you guys seen it on Comedy Hype where his bodyguard's doing the interview. You seen that? He's like he's telling a whole bunch of this stuff. He's telling the relationship between Eddie and Richard.
Really?
Yeah, he says that
it wasn't one of the ones where they how they insinuate he was with Marlon Brando and he had all these like that. Was him and Eddie more?
Nah, he didn't get too crazy. I mean, he talked about some stuff, but Richard talked about damn near everything. So what?
Yeah, Richard never shied away.
Right.
He talked about him and the competition between him and Eddie, and then Eddie would always mention that him and Richard Pryor were so cool, and he said him and Richard Pryor were like they were kind of like they weren't like didn't necessarily like each other, but there was like competition. Right. The new guy coming in,
Gotcha.
And he said when they went to go to the meeting about the Harlem Nights, because Richard didn't really want to do it like that because of the the Eddie thing, the new guy coming in, and and then
sure.
Taking my crown.
Yeah, happens.
Yep.
Right. So he says he's according to his we know it's according to his story, but he's saying Richard tells him, "I'm gonna go to this meeting with Eddie just so I can show you this motherfucker don't like me." And then the guy's okay, let's go. So they go to Eddie's house. They say Eddie has them waiting down there for 2 hours. And Richard looks at the bodyguard and says, motherfucker, I told you that motherfucker don't like me. You know? So he's spilling like a whole bunch of stuff. Oh, what he did say about Paul Mooney, and some
Mhm.
he did get salacious with Paul
Yeah,
Mooney.
yeah,
So I don't
yeah,
know if I
yeah.
want to get it all that out here,
Oh,
but
oh yeah.
yeah,
I guess
you're
the thing with
yeah
him and
got
his son.
salacious with
Yeah.
that.
Okay.
But one thing he did mention though, he was saying the fire accident. He was there when Richard caught on fire. He
Okay.
was saying that I feel like Richard did that shit on purpose. I thought Richard was trying to basically kill himself, end it all,
Yeah, there
basically.
was talk about
I
that.
read about that. Yes,
Yeah,
I heard it was
yeah,
like a
Yeah.
suicide attempt, kind of.
yeah,
Yeah.
He said he waved
mm-hmm.
people away. He wouldn't let them even touch him. He was just letting it happen.
Yeah,
Like
Wow.
mm-hmm.
they had to wait till he collapsed to
Yeah.
save him.
Just
So,
Wow.
everything that he had went through in his his childhood about him getting molested and stuff and
Yeah. Yeah.
all that by the teenage boy, and
Yeah.
just
yeah,
and he just did details about this teenage boy making him do stuff to
these
him, and
things,
then
Right.
yeah,
having to go home and sit at dinner table and eat dinner with your dad, and just like nothing happened,
Right.
like what I mean.
Right.
So I no much money you have or success you have, it just that
yeah.
catch up to you and just
Right.
Yeah,
haunts
it
you.
just
He was
doesn't
So
go
abused by
away.
what
Yeah.
men and women. Men and women
Yeah.
felt.
Yeah. It
yeah,
was a woman.
yeah,
Yeah.
He
that's
was
crazy.
I mean, he was in a brothel house, so that's not
Right.
ideal
Hmm.
conditions for anybody.
Right.
So it created a hell of a comedian, but I mean, he was a damaged person. And
Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely.
they
I
weren't
remember
pushing
when he.
back
Go
then.
ahead.
He was just praying away, and he found
I know when
himself.
he came back from after the incident where he caught on fire, and he came back and he did his first comedy special. And I
Hmm.
remember everyone wanted to hear about, what happened, what happened, what
Yeah.
happened. I remember he talks about that. So he's like he's getting on the crowd about, I heard about the jokes, I saw the jokes. So he takes a match out of his
Oh yeah, the
pocket,
rotary.
and he looks and he's like, all right, who's this? And he goes like that, and
Oh
he's like, and everyone starts laughing because those were the jokes at the time that people would
Right.
say, like, who's this running? And it was Richard Pryor. So let's see. One, he said, it's been a struggle for me because I had a chance to be white and refused. That was another funny statement that he made. Yeah. Yeah. And so, and
He
everyone carries
did.
around his own monsters. How funny is that?
that's
Just some of the
crazy.
stuff that, 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 that I found that he said, and they were absolutely hilarious, but some of them were made you think.
Yeah,
Was
he's
this
very
after
intelligent.
he gave up on that? This was when he was kind of doing his Bill Cosby shtick. Is
Hmm.
that
Yeah,
when
I
he was
think this is just random quotes that people that they
over
had, like,
time?
which is trivia on IMDb, and so they just have a bunch of random quotes and things that he said. And I heard about the Bill Cosby thing as well. I heard that Bill Cosby wanted to have a talk with him or Eddie Murphy about the language, and this is before Richard Pryor had mentioned using the N word, and
Hmm.
that he was like wanting them to change up their comedy. He wanted Eddie Murphy to change up his comedy. And they had mentioned that Richard Pryor wasn't, or not Richard Pryor, but Bill Cosby wasn't the nicest to them. He also was a little offended, by the success that they had with what they did. And he wanted them to tone it down. He wanted Eddie Murphy to tone it down. And Eddie Murphy kind of felt like, you've never helped, you never anything until we blow up. And then you want us to kind of
Yeah,
tone it down, because I remember when Harlem Nights came out, you would think that Bill Cosby would have had some
Yeah,
type of
yeah.
role, a part in that, because he was huge at the time with his own comedy specials, but he
hmm,
wasn't. And now years later, you find out, not the greatest person, and wasn't so nice to Eddie and Richard.
yeah. I
Oh
think
yeah,
Bill was hating. Bill was
Oh
hating
yeah,
how
absolutely.
you make it.
yeah,
Because
yeah,
because like you said, Richard, when he started out, he's doing basically his best Bill Cosby impression. That was the
yes,
way. That
yes,
was the thing to do. And then I kicked down the door for people to kind of just no filters, say whatever,
right,
say anything, and
right,
that starts to take off. And you seeing that catch on, what I mean, that gets
right,
now I'm popping with that. So I'm sure he probably just hated to see this way. Bill Cosby's still Bill Cosby.
And
He still was
Bill
yeah,
was
you know,
always the kind of squeaky clean gatekeeper. He wanted to keep
right,
yeah,
things a certain level. He
yeah,
wanted to have things appear a certain way, and
yeah,
uh, he didn't want it to go down that road.
hmm,
right.
Sometimes he thought he knew better for us than for anybody. But I mean, now we know
yeah. He did all
Bill.
his
How
bullshit
Bill
behind
gets
closed
down.
doors.
Yeah,
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 Bill.
yeah,
You know,
yeah,
don't do it on
Bill was
stage. Do it
sneaky.
behind closed doors. Shit.
Yeah, do the
I
accolades.
got
So
manners
nobody
and
knows how
respect,
you get down.
morals.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, you remember
No,
whenever
but
you remember
going
you
back to
remember
Bill Cosby, I remember as a kid, everyone could watch his comedy special, and I remember seeing the one that he did in 84, 85, and we all sat down as a family, and it was like clean and wholesome, unlike the stuff that I would hear from Richard Pryor, and the fact that I remember being surprised that he didn't curse. Like Bill
Yeah.
Cosby didn't curse, and I was used to comics at that time, your Eddie Murphys and all them just lighting it up, which was great because I love the realist, them being real. But Bill Cosby, you could sit and watch that whole special, and then you have these guys coming up and just, I mean, Eddie Murphy, coming out with the movies that he came out with, and Richard Pryor being in everyone's movie and writing movies, as we found out, things we didn't even know he was involved in. Chicago Hope, you know what I mean? In
Yeah.
1996, that's and I want to speak on Cat Williams and Richard Pryor. Do you guys see any of that in Cat Williams, or do you think
Oh
that
yeah.
it's totally different? Because I know
I
he has
never
his own thing, but
I never really made really damn near everybody has a little bit of Richard in
yes,
them, but like
Yeah.
I never thought about it, but now that you mention it, it's very prevalent. You could definitely see the especially all the stuff that Cat goes through. Cat has his life be fucked up too. So I
oh
mean
yeah,
he
Yeah.
brings all his shit on stage. So
right,
you could definitely see it in Cat Williams, definitely. That's a good comparison. Yeah.
I mean,
right,
even kind of the voice, like he's kind of got his is a little lighter, but I mean, when Pryor gets up, he's like, what like he does all that,
Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
Cat
right,
keeps saying, I gotta get, so it's like you can kind of tell where they're getting, where he kind of got that influence from, or maybe
right.
they're just skinny, tall skinny cats walking around, so it's
Right.
kind of
But
Yeah.
funny. I mean, funny. I
Yeah.
haven't,
Yeah.
I've laughed at a lot of people, but and Bill Cosby, I mean, not Bill Cosby, I'm sorry, Richard Pryor, you die laughing with some of the stuff. And I think, of course, Dave Chappelle with the Chappelle show, I was like, oh my gosh. And I was watching Dave Chappelle when he came out with Half Baked and
Yeah.
things like that. And not knowing, never seen his stand up comedy, wondering who is this weird guy that's always with this group of guys like Seinfeld and all of them. And then you
Yeah.
see Half Bake, and that's a cult classic, and so you see a little bit of them following, and of course you're going to want to follow, Richard Pryor's, road and learn from some of the mistakes, but then seeing Dave stand up, which is totally different, but a little bit of influences. And
Oh
then when
yeah.
Cat Williams pops on the scene, with that first special that he did in '09, it was just, oh my gosh, I haven't seen comedy stand up like that in
Man.
years, and he
Yeah.
killed it. So it was nice to have that be brought back out. So a comedian that's just as funny as Richard Pryor,
Raw. Yeah. Exactly.
yeah.
Yeah,
Exactly.
and raw.
You know what? I'm really upset because I don't know if y'all heard they was trying to make a movie for Richard Pryor, the
Oh,
biography. I'm like it's a biopic
no.
actually. Yeah, they were trying to make a biopic, and
yeah.
so the starring
Now,
roles
didn't
it
they
was
have Mike
between
Epps?
Mike Epps was
Mike
Like
supposed to
Epps?
that.
star in it. Yeah,
Yeah,
Mike Epps was supposed to
exactly.
Okay.
star in it. It before Mike Epps, it was between Mike Epps, Nick Cannon, and Marlon Wayans. And I'm so glad Mike Epps
Oh,
got it because Nick Cannon, if you'd have fucked that shit up, I'd have been hella mad. I wish they would cast Nick Cannon as
No,
Richard Pryor.
no.
You
I
ain't
think
funny
Mike
in
Epps
real.
is the right move.
if
Nick
Nick
Cannon ain't
Cannon did,
funny in
yeah,
real life. How you
he
gonna
ain't,
be
man,
funny
yeah, stay
in a
away from
movie?
that, man.
I wish they would, man. You
Are they
speaking my
still? Is that
mind.
still something that's being talked about, or
Something
I
happened with
thought Eddie Griffin was supposed to pick it
his
back up.
the widow. She's like
okay?
they're kind of having
Oh,
issues, and then
okay,
Mike pretty much is like I don't. Lee Daniels supposed to direct it, and
okay.
Mike was just like you know what, I just basically just gave up on it or whatever. But
Wow.
Richard's last days, he was going over there and was talking to Richard and trying to absorb
Okay.
all his stuff. And this is like Richard's like bedridden and basically I think he's
Wow.
basically kind of dying. Um,
Yeah,
Okay.
so she said I just go there and sit with him. He never laughed. He never would talk. He never would
Wow.
smile. And he just wouldn't. He was
Right.
miserable. And
Right.
yeah,
as he should, you
yeah.
can't barely move.
Yeah. Yeah.
But so I'm going up, I'm just sitting with him. I'm sitting there talking to him, trying to make him laugh. Can't make him laugh. I'm questioning my own comedy because it's not laughing at nothing. And then
Right.
she said the nurse comes in and I guess she bends over and she's picking something up, and she break wind a little bit. She farted a little bit, and then Mike Epps says, "Damn, something been tampered with." And then he just starts cracking up, laughing like uncontrollable.
Really?
Yeah. And the widow well, not his widow back then, but the widow, his wife, runs in, was like, "What's going on?" He's like, he's just laughing. He's like, "Oh, what, you got him to laugh?" Like, you know. So that was cool. So I really
That's awesome.
because I could see the similarities in Mike and Richard like a lot,
Yeah,
even
yeah,
kind of their
Yeah.
appearance a little bit. So I think he would I think that'd been really good or whatever. Mike
Right.
can't fuck with him on the stage, although I think Mike's
Right.
funny,
Right.
but they have I think he would have did a good job.
like he has the look. He can
He
pull it
has a
off.
look
Yeah, I
definitely
agree. I think he has the look. Yeah.
more than that Marlon Wayans too.
Oh my goodness. I
Yes.
mean,
Yeah.
I'll give Marlon his due. Marlon can act. He can
No,
act
he
his butt
can.
off.
He
But
can.
I
I just
would
think
never.
Mike fits
No.
Richard
It would
better.
be hard to
Yeah.
be immersed into. Because the whole time, I'm like, there's Marlon Wayans. There we go, Marlon Wayans doing his
Yeah,
thing.
you could.
It
Yeah.
would be hard not to know it was Marlon Wayans. But
Right,
here's the
right,
Yeah.
thing,
right.
though, about
Yeah.
Marlon Wayans acting, because I saw him in that movie, The Requiem for
Requiem for a
whatever it was.
Dream.
Yeah, he was
Yeah, he
amazing
was
in
really
that.
good. He was good. Yeah.
I was so impressed with that. I went, wow. Yeah, I didn't
Even
thought
Right.
he was
G.I.
that
Joe.
good.
He was really good in G.I. Joe. He was good in that
Yeah,
movie.
no.
Yeah,
I
he's pretty
seen
good. I was
him.
like,
I seen him
Hmm.
in the Fresh Prince, the drama series when they remade it, and
Oh, the fresh, yeah,
yeah, he
Fresh
plays
Prince of
Will's
Bel-Air.
dad. Yeah, and they remake it, and
Okay.
it's like dramatic and stuff or whatever. It was
I'm
pretty
Peacock,
Right.
dope. But
right?
yeah, he killed his role. He was like a serious role, or whatever. Then
Okay.
Will ended up slapping Chris Rock, and they just killed the whole show. The show was damn near like, oh, I don't know, you come back now, but it was good while it lasted.
The
Damn, Will
showdown with
Smith.
the slap. Right?
He
You
fucked everything up.
Okay. So before we leave out, I want to find out first with you, Brandon, when you found out that Richard Pryor died. I mean, we knew he was sick, but how did that go over with you? Trip.
I was in high school, man, and when he had passed, I remember, my dad. I never see my dad. My dad was tore up a little bit, and my parents were a little upset, and they were like, Richard Pryor died. And I was like, oh man. I remember we all did like a family prayer for him, and
Yeah.
we
Right.
got on our knees and stuff. Like I never see my dad so upset than when Tupac died. Like I never
Right.
seen that crushed about a celebrity. So he was like an icon went out because he was like he told me this is the guy that rocked it for the 60s, the 70s, and most of the 80s.
Right.
Before Eddie came over. So pay respects.
Right.
Um,
Right.
I was a high schooler then. I was just kind of like, damn. But I didn't understand the magnitude of his work. I'm like, the UPN guy died. But then, as I got older, I started to understand who he was. I didn't know who he was at the time
Said
when I
the
was in high
UPN
school.
guy.
UPN guy died, yeah, because his movies would play in the mornings on like Channel 58 and Channel
Oh,
31.
okay.
So I just
Okay.
like, yeah, so I would just be like,
I
it's
was
like,
like,
Ah,
huh?
UPN. What's
like,
that?
damn, everybody's talking about the OG. But then I didn't realize his impact till I got older, until I got on my own journey, and I'm like, man, and I revisited that. Yeah, no, I know. I was a high school kid. It was the hypey movement, so I wasn't worried about.
Right.
Right? Oh,
But
you
yeah,
might be my demographic then. Okay.
I think we're the same
Yeah.
age, around,
Yeah.
around that time. So, but I remember he passed around there, and it was like the holidays, and my dad was like, "It's terrible." I think we lost
Right.
James Brown that year too. So
Oh, damn.
I can't remember.
James Brown. Goodness.
Might be around
Probably.
there.
That
I don't
Probably
sounds
that
know.
right.
year. What about you, Mark? What did you? Because you didn't really. What was your thoughts when Richard Pryor died?
When he passed, I was in high
Yeah.
school. I wasn't super up on Richard. I knew who he was. But he had passed. And I was like, oh damn, Richard Pryor died. My dad was more of a really a big Eddie Murphy fan or whatever,
Okay.
so it wasn't like a big thing in my house. Now Rick James died. The whole shit. The whole shit was he shut the whole shit down. Like
Yeah,
nothing,
yeah. Everybody
nothing.
said,
No bills got paid. It was fucked up. Like it was over. Over. See, you
Yeah,
still ain't
that
over
was
that
yeah.
shit. Still ain't over that
"Nah,
shit.
you
Who's
you,
in Harlem
you
Nights? I
saw
did.
it coming though."
Oh no, he's in Life.
Um.
I'm thinking like he's in Harlem Nights. Rick James was in
Oh,
Life.
life,
Yeah,
life,
Hmm
life.
But but
yeah,
when I started to like kind of dig up on his life and stuff, I was like, damn, that is like he really died. Like I didn't really know like what happened to him with the MS and shit. And I'm just like, man, he really that's a terrible way
Yeah.
to die.
Yeah.
Childhood was so fucked up already, and
Right.
then he has his success with what he's doing these drugs and stuff. Then you get MS, you can't move. you can't even do comedy anymore. So it's just
Yeah.
like, man, this dude is like, he sacrificed, for the good of comedy, really, because he inspired
Right.
a whole bunch of other people and other comics or whatever. But it's like he's not even able to. I mean, probably what he stopped doing stand up. What? And I think I seen like a ceremony with him like in '93. I think
It
he
might have
was
Yeah.
been early
like
'90s.
early
Yeah.
'90s. He's like
Yeah.
wheelchair bound, and
Yeah.
you know what I
Yeah. I
mean.
saw that he was in a wheelchair. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
So it's
it
like,
was so sad because, Richard Pryor, you know what I mean?
yeah,
Yeah, it was really sad, but yeah.
that's a
Did you
long
guys see
time
when he
to
was
live like that. Not
Yeah.
being able to do comedy, not being able to take care of yourself. So so he
Yeah.
really sacrificed himself for the good of comedy. Rest in peace, Richard Pryor, man. The goat,
Absolutely.
the real
Frank,
goat.
I know. How did you feel when you found out he died?
Oh, I mean, I was definitely sad, and I've always kept followed him along and knew that he was with the MS
Right.
and all the things. And the best way I can look at it is he definitely influenced my life a lot. But I think that bottom line is that motherfucker had a really good 30 years. I mean,
Yes.
he
Yeah,
fucking he partied, he did his thing,
yeah,
dude. He was banging Pam Grier.
yeah,
Right. Right.
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
Pam Grier was the shit.
Yeah.
Hmm.
That alone is enough, in my opinion. But I'm just,
yeah, yeah. That's true.
I'm just saying, I, I thought he was awesome, and I just think that he had a big impression on the comedy world and just the world in general. And
Right.
he had a tortured life, but I think again, he had a really good, good run in there. And
Right.
he had children, he did a lot of things, and it was sad that it had to end that way. But God didn't keep him around too long. I mean, he was only 68. He was
Right,
pretty
right.
young.
Yeah,
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
and a man that
That's a
Absolutely.
is about to
milestone.
turn 65, 68, don't. It's like
yeah.
I got to get past
Dude,
that shit. Yeah,
man.
but yeah,
Hard
Yeah, I
knowing
was
that he was
heartbroken. Family was heartbroken. Grew up. He was a part of our household. Comedy night at our household growing up. The mom's friends would come over. They listened to the record, every movie that came out. The
no, that's
family
great.
saw his movies. Like he was really loved in my household. And I will leave out with one last thing that he said. I live in a racist America and I'm uneducated. Yet a lot of people love me and like what I do. I can make a living from it. You can't do much better than that.
That says it right there.
That's it right there. Rest in peace,
Perfect.
Richard Pryor.
Yeah.
Absolute legend. I just want to say thank you guys for joining me. I'm going to go to you, Brandon. Tell us what you have coming up, what's going on with you in the world of comedy.
Right now, it's just open mics, getting there to the scene. I have a really kind of cool cast that I've gotten with. I'd like to thank while I'm on here, Marcion Evans, Adam Sterling. They have been putting on shows and keeping me a part of it. So I'm really grateful for that. You said your boys, yeah. So,
Yeah, Marcion tall as hell.
Man,
Yeah,
man, that's what I was like. A
he
crowd
tall.
confused this one time, and I was like, "How could you?"
Yeah.
Oh, okay, I get it. You got two big brothers over here, but I'm like, he's like at least a foot. Like he's got a stack over me. So
He's too nonchalant. He wasn't supposed to be that tall. Like, if you gonna be tall, you supposed to be arrogant and shit. This motherfucker all quiet. Like, man, you tall as fuck. You better be starting shit with people and talking shit. I would.
He's very nonchalant because he's tall. Yeah, it's like it's that big shark mentality.
Yeah, I'll be punky as hell. Rossie, you ever meet him? He's tall as hell. Like, he's big as hell.
Yeah. No, I'm seen, and I'm I'm 6'2", 6'3", so like to look up to somebody. Yeah, well,
you better start starting shit. You 6'2". Don't waste it.
You must be 5'10" like me.
Yeah, I'm about 5'10".
Yeah.
5'11". Yep.
If I was
I still start shit.
talking hella shit.
Man, see, exactly. Y'all wasting y'all talent, man.
I'm with you, man.
You don't want to be the bully, man. Nobody. That's not a cool life. That's not. They already. Everybody already, when you walk in the room, they're already looking at you like, stand like, what you gonna do? Like, what you here for? So, yeah, I try not to be that guy, but no, definitely I'm at the open mic scene, just kind of checking out. I know the press club opened. We have a new venue over there with Blue Q. The Score just opened up, so I've been going everywhere I can, banging on my craft. I kind of worked.
How you been doing comedy, Brandon? You mind me asking?
I started in 2021.
Yeah. Okay, about 3. Okay, cool.
About
my 4 years.
So I'm about 3-4 years in the game.
Okay.
Ups and downs, like it's the Pryor road, kind of just learning and getting where I can and doing what I can, and learning where we go. But yeah, nothing in the works right now. But that doesn't mean I ain't got nothing working. I'm working on something. So you'll see me around.
Mark, tell us what's going on with Real Ninja News. Tell us what's going on with you, comedy. Yes, and it's not ninja. I'm just being,
Oh yeah, no, they'll pick up on it.
Yeah.
I got I'll have some shows coming. I'll be posting them soon. I think I got one at the Punchline in was it February? Yeah, February. So I'll start posting those. So so be on the lookout for that. Follow me on Instagram, Mark_Snipes. Tap in on YouTube. So I'm actually doing the same thing. Well, it's RR News, short for
right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
if you know, okay? If you don't know, then you ain't a real, huh? Okay?
Right.
You don't know, you don't need to know.
You guys know you're allowed to say it, right?
Yeah, well, I want to N-word her. I'm trying to take a note from Richard. I'm like Richard now. I'm trying to stop saying the N-word as much. Okay, I went to Africa. I'm going to Africa too and get right. And,
right. That's right. It was in Africa. It was in Africa too. Yes. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Africa, yeah.
Oh, yes.
Speaking of which, I had like experiences that too, where I'd be at shows and I would use the N-word.
Right.
And sometimes the audience would, be a white audience, but I'm just talking, I'm just doing my thing. And there's been a few times, like maybe 1 or 2 times, where they would use it to me after the show. Like, yeah. And I'm like, what the, you know what I mean? But not even like not trying to like disrespect me, just like, oh, it's cool. Okay, well, you're saying it, so we can say it now. And what are you gonna do? Everyone's here white. What are you gonna do? Just fight somebody here? You gonna get your ass beat? So, but crazy. And I'm like, damn, I gotta really, be aware of certain things, because like, damn, like, you really think that's okay to you just do? Damn, like, it's a stand-up comedy. Like, I'm just joking. Like, God,
right.
Like, crazy. But
that's why you try to get bigger, so you can bully.
What's up?
That's why you want to get bigger, so you can bully.
Yeah, I started to slap motherfuckers, man. Come on, shit. Come on, man. Facts. But
I haven't had that experience yet.
Yeah, you 6'2", man. Come on, man. What you doing, man? You shouldn't even sign for open mic. You just go and just grab the mic. I'm next.
I'm next.
Yeah, I know. I tell everybody, you see this big burly, like I did security. I know how it is. I get it. You see me, and you think like I did. I'm that guy. So, but
you better start punking these ninjas.
Punking some comedy, bullying my way onto a show. Yeah, no, I'm not doing.
You got to go Debo on them, that's right?
But I'm taking the page of your book, Rossie. I'm so what I'm doing, I was doing a live show, and the green screen effect on the live, where I'd have the background and stuff.
Yeah.
It's like gone now, disappeared.
Really?
So I'm like, So I'm like,
yeah.
I don't want to do it with like just an office background or what. I still want to have my new stuff. So I was gonna like kind of, maybe like kind of try to build me like a set or whatever.
Yeah.
And in the meantime, I bought a green screen just to start shooting skits, and then I will start kind of shooting some of the RN News clips, just while I'm waiting for the live show. And I was like, bro, this is really like a lot more convenient. Pre-recording it and then editing it, and it's just way easier. And then so now I'm actually made the other day. I'm like, I'm gonna start just shooting the solo stuff. I'll pre-record it. Maybe when I have a guest or something, I'll do the live show or whatever. You know what I mean? But especially like you were saying, special occasions or whatever. It just got way just smoother with just doing the pre-record, and I can I kick it out faster too.
Yeah, and you can like cut like 10-minute clips from it if you want to, so that if someone doesn't want to watch the whole video,
just
if you put up those 10-minute clips, chop it up. That way you have like maybe chop it up 3 times in one video, and you have things to pop up. But the recording it is much better, because you'll gain your audience faster. And then once you gain your audience, then that's when you go and do a live. And then they'll follow you doing the live. So that's why we're doing things a little different now. So just to let you know. And as far as spaces, Buddy's out in Elk Grove, and he's paying $40 a month for this huge. Were you at that same space where Buddy was?
That's where I
still
am.
Are you serious?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Were you just there?
I was on the show. He interviewed me the other day.
I'm shooting in the. I think that. Oh, you might have been in the same. So I was
I
shooting
was
in
in
the
like
bigger room.
yeah, I was in a bigger room.
Yeah, that's where I was shooting
Yeah.
at. Yep.
Okay.
So I
Okay.
don't want to do the RN, which is the the whiteboard and stuff and all that. And
Yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah.
I gotta figure something out. So, but then it just
Right.
kind of started working out. So yeah, I'm there. That's where I usually
Okay.
am, and I can shoot at
Okay.
home. I ain't got to drive all the way to Elk Grove and stuff.
There
So
you go. There you
yeah,
go. There you
so
go.
that's why I shot the our last episode we did.
Oh, is
Maybe.
that where? Okay. Okay.
Hmm.
I thought that was a pretty good deal. I couldn't believe he was paying that much. I mean, did that little for that big room. But yeah. So, and he's
Yeah,
doing a show by himself as well. So
yeah.
yeah,
He's still thugging. Yeah, I
he
when I
does. He
heard
is.
about it, I was like,
Buddy
wow,
Ramy.
this is not real.
Buddy. Yeah, buddy Ramick.
Oh yeah,
It
okay, okay.
Yeah.
it costs a lot of money to like rent like a place like that. So the fact that
Yeah.
we got that was like, amazing.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Mhm.
All right, guys, we're going to wrap it up. Thank you so much. Brandon, thank you so much. You know, you're always welcome to come back and do a show. You know that. Get your TikTok on. All
I
right.
shall. I
All
shall.
right. Um, Mark, you know, you're always welcome to come back on. We
Okay.
need to
I
do
gotta have
something
you on
together as well.
yeah, I gotta have you on RN.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
We got to do something together. I think that would be great.
yeah.
Frank, you're a friend of the channel. Frank, you know, you and I got to do more shows together. You did
Yeah, we'll
really
do something,
good.
man.
I had a
Yeah.
good time with you. So we're definitely going to have to do a movie review or something together again. I really liked you coming on the show
Nice
tonight.
meeting you
Thank you.
guys.
Thank you. Thank you
Yeah,
for
you too,
coming on
Frank.
with us.
Good luck to you both.
You
Yeah.
guys, I'm Rossie McCree. I'm the host of Rossie's Clubhouse. We're also on all major podcast platforms. For those that will tune in, give us a 5-star review on Spotify, wherever you listen to your podcast at. Also, go to Rossie's Clubhouse and give me a subscribe, hit up a like. And this video will drop on Monday, February 10th around noontime. So also, Mark, check out that when you drop the videos, look at your analytics to see when's the best time, play around when's the best time to drop the videos
Okay.
as well. Okay.
Okay,
Yeah,
definitely.
that's
Okay.
that's a big thing as well. Anyways, you guys, let's see. February 10th, I have an R&B artist coming on. He's you guys know I love Amazing. He's absolutely amazing. He's great. As you know, Rossie's Clubhouse is a Sacramento-based podcast. I have interviews in all areas of entertainment, and once a month, I bring someone from another state, maybe Southern Cali, to come on and light up the podcast. So, LaShawn, I'll see you soon. And Omari Washington, can't wait to have you on in March. And Payday 916, looking forward to having you on as
Oh, that's
well.
my
So,
boy.
yes, Payday 916
That's
is
my
going to
boy.
do the show. So, thank you guys so much. Be good to each other. You guys don't go anywhere. I'll catch you guys on the next show. Thank you so much, guys.